Computer live. Welcome to our 4th hour Vision Tech final presentations. We hope you enjoy. We're going to begin with Miss Isabel.
Okay, for my project, for my final project, I did torrents, which allow you to download anything that you can find for free. Torrents are applications that allow people to download certain content for free. Things such as books, games, movies, and programs can be easily downloaded off of torrent websites. First, the person needs to download a torrent file, which the icon thing is from uTorrent, which is a application. And there's different applications that you can use, and depending on the application, the icon on it will be different. The file is the extension of it is a .torrent file. It contains metadata about other files. They do not contain the actual content, but the information of the files from the seeder's computer. Seeder is the person who's uploading the content and who shared the torrent file. And I'll just show this screenshot. This is like the first torrent application. Basically, what you do is you get a file, or I don't know what it's at, but you get a file and you add your torrent file into it. And then down here, the trackers are what allows the torrent file to be kind of accessed quicker and access like other people's, like whoever downloaded it, and access their files so it can get that. I don't know how to explain that. And then the speed, it kind of tells you how fast it's downloading. So here's the video, how they kind of work.
Our computer files aren't like they used to be. These days, a short HD video can be over a gigabyte in size. That's huge. The problem is that the bigger they are, the harder they are to share. Thankfully, we have options that make sharing big files over the internet fast and easy. This is BitTorrent Explained. Blake was so excited. He's the president of his local Sasquatch fan club. Really slow. Because he couldn't rest until he had that video on his computer. He tried to download it from the original website, but it was painfully slow. Because so many fans were trying to download it at the same time, the website crashed. He was discouraged. Then, a fellow fan said the video could also be downloaded via BitTorrent. She said that unlike typical downloads, files using BitTorrent actually download faster when more people are involved. And it works with any kind of file. To see for himself, Blake downloaded uTorrent, the world's most popular BitTorrent app from uTorrent.com. He opened the program and was a little confused. There were no videos, and he wasn't sure where to start. But soon, he realized that's because BitTorrent is a little like a web browser. Just like a browser needs websites to be useful, BitTorrent needs special files called torrents to work. A quick web search pointed him to websites with torrents galore. Soon enough, he found the Sasquatch video torrent, downloaded the torrent file to his computer, and with a simple click, uTorrent immediately sprang to action and the file started downloading. He could see it was working and wondered how. Later, his friend made it clear by talking about how downloads typically work without BitTorrent. When someone downloads a file, it comes to their computer in a stream from a single source. When multiple people want the file, that single source can get overworked and can even shut down. BitTorrent solves this problem by making each downloader a source. This way, they get pieces of the file, but also provide pieces to each other. Together, the downloaders become a network of multiple sources, all working to provide pieces to one another. This makes downloads fast and reliable. A couple of things behind the scenes make it happen. First, when he clicked download, Blake received a torrent file. This file has all the information about the video file, like what pieces are needed to complete it. But something is missing. Blake needs a way to connect to other users who have the pieces he needs for his file. BitTorrent uses a computer called a tracker.
Other users that they connect to are called peers.
Blake's computer finds other computers called peers. The tracker keeps track of computers that are downloading or already have the whole file and introduces Blake's computer to them. With the connections in place, he receives what he needs and also distributes pieces to others who are also downloading. Blake got it. BitTorrent works because it turns downloaders into sources. And more downloaders means more sources and faster downloads.
Okay, and then the other thing about torrents is that you can get viruses pretty easily. So kind of protect when you get different programs such as Avast, which is an antivirus software. And then also, it just basically, you can scan the file with the program, the antivirus software, to make sure that it's not virus. There's more than just that one, but. So how it works is that the uploader is they call the seeder, and then the seeder brings or gives the content to the downloaders, which are called leechers. And so all of these are leechers, and this one's the seeder. And then this one to this one, these are peers because they're sharing files with each other. If you have more seeders that you have, the faster the file will download. And if there's no seeders, you can't really download the file. And here's my work started.
Very good. Anybody got any questions? Okay, let's be honest. Who's used a torrent?
Ask guys.
Okay, so were you getting gaming stuff or were you getting software
I
stuff?
was downloading an operating system.
Operating system. Isabel, let me guess, gaming stuff. Yes.
Yeah, she's not hardcore.
Yeah.
I almost used a torrent, but I got to the page and I got scared.
You turned back.
I did get a
You
game
went
off
and
Pirate
looked,
Bay.
though. You did go look.
I did get a game off Pirate Bay once.
I was gonna say there are different torrents, all kinds. You know, and what you are if you are sharing. I do warn you about this. Is you basically are because when you are getting stuff, you're also capable of sharing things. It's a two-way process.
You also do not want to save this your internet provider can track you down.
Yes. So if you are creating or sharing, they can see that. But you also somewhat open your IP address, which is your address, is open because then people that are sharing good hackers can track you.
Yes, I used it for like, I put BitTorrent on my old home computer, had someone download an operating system in 32-bit, and I only had an option for bit to use a torrent to get it 32-bit. And so I got BitTorrent and I downloaded and I got the operating system, and then I think I got it, and then I shut off the computer, and then I don't know, maybe like a day later I came back to use the computer, turned it on, and BitTorrent automatically opened and started seeding the operating system. I'm like, no, I don't want this. This is creepy. This is bad.
Super creepy.
And
Well,
so,
mhm. Well, and you know, because it is, because I know a lot of people who use it, especially gamers. I see gamers that go out and will get new stuff that's out there instead of paying the $40 or $50.
Yeah. Which is why the gaming industry hates us.
Well, yes, but I understand that, but you know, there's always a risk for it. That's a good explanation of how it works. Good job. Okay, Mr. Delon.
It's like PC gaming stuff.
Yep.
Oh.
It's not open source operating system.
A lot of like
Some operating systems are open source, but not all. Like you were probably using some Windows version or something, weren't you?
It's on Windows 10.
Okay, here we go. Everybody needs to be quiet, please.
Alright, so I did virtual reality. Yeah, I just put this down just in case no one knows it. Yeah, it's basically like a headset of a sort that you put on in, like, I guess there's like different systems. There's even some for phones and stuff. You put on, there's like screens in the eyes, so it has the same thing, so it looks like you're in it. And it's supposed to work like you looking around and stuff. Also, earlier saw like other videos like you set up like motion thingies in two corners of the room, so it like gives you the whole view of it, and so when you move, it moves. And yeah, that's when I saw Paranormal Activity games though. Yeah, so some examples would be the Oculus Rift, which also like Gear VR is also with it. The Oculus like uses like computers and like even like PlayStation, Xbox games on it. Basically that. And I guess which I didn't know, is the Gear VR or something. Yeah, you can actually use it on your phones. There's games on your phones. I was like really surprised when I saw that. I didn't know it was for phones. So yeah, those are just the examples with the sites. So yeah, so the basic features of it is like 3D as usual. It's like making it life size, so it kind of tricks your mind to think that you're in the game or video. So then the real time response is usually, so when you move, the camera moves and everything, or like if you were to turn or something. Yeah, because like there's other things that people are like saying it's bad because if it doesn't work right, it can give you like motion sickness.
Yeah.
Crazy. So yeah, then the different fields of view would be like almost like a 360-degree turn, which I think so basically where you look, it's like all yours moving. So yeah, and that's where I saw it. I'm just putting all these sites on there. So yeah, I saw like 5 basic topics. So I just went to explore on different sites just to get the basic idea. So like, yeah, they use it in architecture. Yeah, they use that to like build on it, then put it in real life. And they say using virtual reality for architecture will take over within a few years instead of all their other stuff. Yeah, and they even use it in sports, like to practice, like football players, so they don't have to. So like even the people in like the back strings, I don't really know, but people that don't play can actually get like experience just by being in there, like almost like a recording. I don't know how to say it, but so they're in it. Then the medicine, the best thing I could find out of it, instead of just using it to calm down patients and stuff, is actually surgically trained with it, so they don't have to get it from experience. They can actually do it in the game, so that's pretty cool. They also use it in art, which, yeah, they create like 2D and 3D art. And I didn't know that, and I don't even really have to explain much about entertainment because game, videos, movies, all that other stuff that people think of when you see virtual reality. So, yeah, how it would change the world, allow us to do things faster, so like architecture and all that stuff, basically those ideas. And I just basically listed off what I explained. And yeah, the bad things could be like the motion sickness. People think that just children are gonna be using that a lot more, and it's really costly right now. I saw some like $600, $800 just for a set of that. It's like really expensive. So yeah, I just wanted to show last, like that's a picture of like the headset of the Oculus Rift. And so that's kind of like the outside screen, but all the stuff's on the inside. Put it on your head and plug it in your game. And it's using a lot of things. That's lots of different companies are making like games. I mean, the movies. I don't know how that's gonna work, but it's listed off that. And it also said like looking at different places in the world with it. I don't know how that's possible, but I guess it is. But
yeah, you can load it in. You can load it.
Yeah, and that's really all I got.
Before you go anywhere, I want you to look up Google Cardboard. You guys ever heard of that?
Yes, I have it.
You have it? You have one?
Yes.
Piece of cardboard,
I
and
have
then
cardboard, actually. I have cardboard at home.
You have a Google Cardboard at home?
Yeah, I like boxes of cardboard.
No, I haven't. Okay. I have it.
Okay, so believe it or not,
That's pretty cool.
you can't really see it. You slide it over so you can see move your browser over a little bit. So there are many games, except, oh yeah.
Yes.
And this will cost you $5 or $6. And it's basically a piece of cardboard that is created for the size of your phone, whatever you have, which lets you create or play virtual-like experience games, which you can download on your phone, right? You get that somewhat experience, and that's what it is. It's Google Cardboard because it's cheap. It's just basically a piece of cardboard that's been set up to, once you put it together,
Mount your face.
to mount your gaming system for your phone. And yeah, that whole experience of looking into something and creating a world within there, that's going to be pretty regular. You're going to see that a lot. What you were thinking about is basically it's called simulation. So imagine a world where if you want to be a surgeon, you can simulate surgery without actually being in surgery. And for a lot of people, pilots have been doing this for years. So if you're going to fly, you simulate flight, which is good, and they can throw bad things at you to experience without you actually crashing and burning and dying.
Right.
Yes. So
like,
turn around
you
so they
have-
can
you
see.
have it on, and then you'd have it'd be more like 3D looking in the cardboard set. Then you can look around, you can move around the room, and it moves around the street.
Right.
They've actually
And then
remade.
it's saying this one is a story. It tells a story, and it walks you through
While you're going.
while you're going.
They've
And
remade
it's like
it's
it's like you're on a tour of New York, and you're looking around. That's cool.
So if you have
And it's
It's a
like
good
guide
cardboard.
you.
it's going to hold your phone so that you can experience it more live without it just puts you in that surrounded environment for a very cheap cost. Now you can buy those like Oculus Rift setups. They're not terribly expensive either. If you buy the more expensive one there, they'll run anywhere between $19 and $45. And they'll have like a whole head strap and the whole works. So you could do a more complex version as well. They're not terribly expensive. It's your phone or whatever device you run it through that's running the software that's the expensive part. So, you guys have any questions? No, I think did I order some no cardboard? I can't remember. I ordered something for us to try next. So, okay, very good. Let's do Peyton. All right, thank you. You're special. That's why we love you. Congratulations, Nick, by the way. That was awesome. You have to be pretty happy.
Oh, okay.
What did he do?
I did tennis.
Me and Trapper got 6th place at state.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Okay, here we go. Everybody pay attention.
Okay, I did a presentation on basically how long newspapers will survive. There's predictions. This is by Jeffrey Cole. He said within the next 5 years, only 4 major dailies, the New York Times, USA Today, and the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal will continue in print form along with local weeklies.
Wow.
And then I said, although newspapers have been around for hundreds of years, online newspapers have become very popular and they may overcome the use of print newspapers. Will the Lindbergh newspaper die? The Smoky Valley Vision Tech students predicted that most likely in the next decade that print newspapers will not live. I have like 2 people say yes, they will, and then most, I don't know, 11 said no, or 12 or something. Yeah. And then, are they used by the next generation? Yeah. On a monthly basis, how often do you use newspapers? I asked that in the form, and very little people said every day, and then yeah, a lot of people said very rarely, which so our generation really does not use it. So
I read the funnies.
How often are online newspapers used? I asked the Vision Tech students, and this is what they said. A lot of people said a few times a week, which is very different than very rarely on a newspaper. Which I thought about it like newspapers, not like online newspapers, but just news in general online. Like it'll pop up on Twitter or Facebook. How often do you click those and look at it? Like, I don't know. To me, I think it's a lot. You see it, news everywhere. It's just different. Newspaper extinction. More people get their news online than ever before, but what does that say for print newspapers? Businesses are very profitable because of ad display. Online newspapers are not as profitable, which leads people to say print journalism should still be around because that is where the profitable income is. Because of this, many papers are trying website paywalls, which charge readers to read their news. It's like really big ones are like charging you to read their news online. Like if you click on theirs, like get an account or something. And that's how they're trying to get a profit instead of on like print newspapers. They get a profit from selling ads or ad space. What is easier and faster? Online newspapers can I don't know, with the ability to have audio, video, and instant coverage. This is only because the electronic delivery method. So like online newspapers, you can
you can have it's really fast and you have audio and video and visuals instead of like newspapers, it's just like paper, I guess. And then I asked the Fish and Tech students if you could use one for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? And then 18% said newspapers and 82% said online. Newspapers, that's old news. And then the decline of papers has already started because some big metro papers have already gone under, such as the Mountain News and Seattle Post Intelligencer. The Tribune Company, a large newspaper company, has gone into bankruptcy. So there's a really large papers that have already gone under, and that might happen to other. And then there's no website. I have a video too.
Cool.
I made everyone a publisher. I'm Walter Reed, corrupt mayors and steroids in baseball. I can aggregate to more eyeballs. You don't pay for my work. On the internet, information wants to be free. I've been fighting corruption and wrongdoing 200 years before geeks like you even existed. With enough bloggers and citizen journalists, I'll do the same. We need professionals, not just citizens. I know how to monetize and collect micropayments. I need macro payments. I'm laying off good journalists here. And have been for years, while trying to satisfy corporate hunger for double-digit profits. Punch you in your tweeter. I think you mean Twitter. Whatever. What? Good, because I wanted to ask you this. Got any money for me? I'm running a little low.
Okay, that was basically talking about the difference between newspapers and online news. I mean, a lot of them, they just say news, but it's very different. Yep.
Very good. Good question. I'm going to let you guys ask her in a minute. My question to you guys is, how does this affect information that we get? First question. How does this affect the information that we get? Because there is that, I mean, that was a clear difference between corporate and individual newsmakers or reporters.
I feel like a lot of stuff online isn't peer reviewed, so it's easy to have misconceptions.
It's easy to have mistakes and misconceptions, isn't it?
And you can
Because there's not a great responsibility online, because there is in a really public forum.
Also, it's easy to dismiss things not true.
Right.
Blogs.
Blogs. I would say when you're reading a blog for your news, it's like letting somebody chew your food for you. It's the same thing.
baby
It's the same thing. Exactly. You guys have questions for, and then I'll bring up some issues for you. Go ahead. Questions for the lovely Miss Payton. Did you guys raise your hand?
Yes.
Do you use newspapers?
Every once in a while.
Do footage count as a newspaper?
But
No.
Then I don't read
the
them.
more, yeah.
That's entertainment.
I don't know what I'm missing.
It's in the paper.
All right.
How do you think that's affecting, this whole concept's affecting, you see it affecting our world anyway?
Well, it can't cut down on the amount of papers and trees cut down.
Yes, you can.
Save the environment.
So then, go green. Sorry, go for
But how do you see it showing up anywhere else? You see it manifesting itself in any way? In our culture, in the way we do things?
The current generation was, a lot of us were brought up, using the internet for our news source. So
Right.
I'm thinking papers will see a huge decrease.
Which they are. I'm going to tell you that our need for journalism is more important than ever before. It really is. Really good journalism. How many people do you know constantly, even on social media, sharing things that are 100% inaccurate and not understanding how to track their sources and find out if it's true or not? Because I cannot even tell you the amount of, the garbage that flows in and out. That I see people posting and reposting, and because everybody can be their own creator of information. That information doesn't have to be legitimate or real, or as long as it's somewhat believable and you can put it somewhere where people can read it, they have a tendency to believe it. And I think basically our political process that's happening right now is a real reflection of the fact that people don't need viable stuff to form an opinion. Does that make sense? There doesn't have to be a lot of facts behind things necessarily for people to jump on board. I really wish every kid could have web literacy training. That's the one thing I would give every single kid in this school. The ability to track their sources, know where it comes from, the ability to understand the difference between primary and secondary, how to write a good search string, how to know that you don't reprint or believe everything in a blog because it's a personal opinion, not necessarily truth, that kind of stuff. And where's our good website to go if you don't know how to do any of that? What do you say, people? No. Huh? Not
New
Nutty News.
library.
The deep net.
No, not the deep net. Where do you go?
What's it called? I don't remember.
Snopes.com.
Yeah, that one.
If all else fails, if people don't have any web literacy at all, send them to Snopes because you can type in your news story and it'll tell you if it's false or true or not. That's at least go there.
It's
Before you reprint and share things, go there. And I have people do that all the time. When people reprint things on social media, and I know this is probably not what I should do, but if it's egregiously offensive and people are believing it, I look it up in Snopes and I just paste the found stuff in their stuff. So that at least they can see, if you want to share it, make sure it's true.
Dang, I'm an
It's
idiot.
like when
Thanks,
rumors
Mr.
start,
Dick.
why would you share it if you don't know if, it's equally that way. I think we're a literate society, we should, yeah.
What do you think about books or internet books?
Yeah, go ahead. Books will always be.
I like books.
I personally, I still like a printed book. I cannot get away from
I
it.
follow two different things online that are like online stories people write, but I love the feeling of a solid book in my hand.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know if that's just because we grew up with it or not, but I like the smell of them. I own thousands of them.
Chapter 9.
Kids,
We're gonna burn every book.
even now, are
Okay.
reading the specific books.
Oh, that was
So maybe with that generation. it'll change.
Possible, and it's possible. I have books on my iPad, and I have a solid book, and to this day, I far enjoy the book far more. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's how we.
I'm old school too, so.
At last summer, I worked as a counselor training at my church camp, and I like 2-hour breaks every day,
Did you get a read?
and I got a lot of reading time in it. Helped me catch back up.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that slow contemplative processing of information that comes from reading. The less and less we do of it, it's changing the way our brains focus and grow and develop ideas.
I had 2
That
hours.
part scares me just a little.
I
That
had
part.
2 hours of free time. I watched TV.
Same.
Thank you for that, Seth. I appreciate that.
I really do better than camp than don't TV.
Yeah. See, that's what I love about summertime. I have a list of about 25 books right now.
Have
that
you
I'm
read
gonna
Harry Potter? Go by the movies. Get
So it's
out.
very good. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
It's me, is it?
Okay, Seth.
What? I have not yet.
You have not read
I
what?
haven't seen the movies yet.
Thank you, by the way, Peyton.
It's okay.
Here's the- You sent it to your phone. You did kind of
Hey, how'd you get your pearls?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty pretty.
We'll get it done Friday.
I thought you said.
How's your puppy? He's feeling better?
Good.
My puppy's a terrorist. He's in the garage right now because of training.
She keeps swimming, except like the other day, it was like 11 at night, and we heard her barking outside. Well, we heard the little dog barking. She doesn't really bark.
Oh, they're right.
And we'll go out there and hear something like fighting, some animals fighting down in the pond. And we don't hear them, we're like, oh my god. And then she wasn't one of the animals fighting, she just heard them fighting and ran down there and like ran in the pond. And then we're like, Craig, she ran back, she's all wet, she's all excited.
What was fighting down there?
I don't know, it sounded like it was a bird. But then I couldn't hear anything else. You could tell it was like getting attacked. It was like a loud
Yeah.
screech.
Yes,
I'll remove the computers after school today.
not till Wednesday.
Not till Wednesday.
Wednesday, right after school. And you guys, we get out on Wednesday at like 2:45.
And we get out Tuesday at 2:45.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
They're both
So I don't have
doctors.
any AP anymore.
Yep.
That is correct.
I thought we still had Tuesday for like class election.
Maybe you did, you might, I don't know.
No,
That's
it's during
it.
That's seminar.
It's during seminar.
I think, at least.
So,
Yeah, and my board folks, we're gonna move computers on Tuesday.
Where's that?
It'll take us all 15 minutes.
Tuesday or
I think we're Wednesday, at the library, I think is where we are. Unless you hear differently from me, library.
Okay, good.
Library.
Library for all of us that are a little bit illiterate.
The library.
Okay, Seth, dazzle us, please.
Dazzle.
Awesome.
I heard that.
Right there.
What?
You want to be rich like Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, or the Koch brothers? Well, I don't really have a solution for you. But will you please watch my presentation?
No. Yay.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Big.
So does anyone,
DJ Jazzy said.
I have a question. Does anyone even like know what Bitcoin is? Like even like heard of the term?
It's computer currency.
It's on the dark web.
It is.
Some dark web controlled by some guy in the basement.
Yeah, it is.
Alright, so just some quick info here. Definitions. Worldwide ledger. A ledger is like this collection you can like banks. So a worldwide ledger, yet extremely complicated that no one definition fully encapsulates it. That was like the first website I went to.
Words.
Was the definition I got? I was like, okay, well,
That makes sense, yeah.
yeah, that's a great start. So I guess you'd say peer-to-peer. Right? There are going to be a few terms in my presentation that'll take you back to info tech days in freshman year, such as peer-to-peer technology to operate with no central authority or banks. Managing transactions and issue of bitcoins is carried out collectively by the network. So, such like the US dollar today, we have FDIC and the Federal Reserve and the government that controls our current controls, so we don't have inflation and economic collapses and all that. Well, Bitcoin, there is no government that controls them, which is why lots of governments, such as like China and North Korea, are terrified of Bitcoins. Although China has loosened up a lot on Bitcoin. Just in simple, digital currency not regulated or controlled by any central bank or government. You could say, one definition that I found was it's like emailing gold coins. You could picture it as. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take you through the basics of just kind of how Bitcoin works and what it is. Most of this information right here just comes from bitcoin.org website right here. Okay. So you have your phone here and you go into a business, we'll just say you go into a brick and mortar business and they accept Bitcoin there. So you want to pay and they say, okay, they might have like an iPad or something. And then you take your phone up to their computer and you have your Bitcoin app and they'll have their Bitcoin program up on their computer and you'll scan it. And then that will transfer Bitcoin from your account to their account. So, how does the money get from your account to their account? How does all that work? Well, that's where the blockchain comes into play. The blockchain is a public record of all Bitcoin transactions in chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps track of all your balances for everyone of the Bitcoin community. It verifies the permanence of a transaction. And I'll get into this more detail with cryptography and mining as we get into that and kind of how that works. So when you go through this transaction here, you're going to go to, it kind of almost works like the internet. You have all of these mines, I guess you could say, set up all across the world. I think there's like 200,000 servers for Bitcoin, just kind of like the internet. There's lots of them. And so it looks at this one, and you have we'll get into the private key later too. So you have the private key, which verifies your transactions like a signature when you sign on a credit card. And it works with this computer, and it works with that computer. It kind of works with all the computers. It gets verified, which allows them to do the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of integrity issues around with Bitcoin, which is why lots of people are scared of it. So yeah, cryptography, this is kind of where we get into the security of it. It's kind of like a whole different branch of mathematics. Like in Bitcoins, the server computers can do, I think there's like 10 trillion mathematical problems or equations in like 1 second, which is kind of hard to wrap your mind around. Pretty much cryptography is just the security of it that makes it impossible for a user to spend another user's fund or steals it. You know, people always like to know who runs Bitcoin, how does that work? It's kind of like asking, well, who runs the internet? Who owns the internet? Well, everyone owns the internet. Everyone has a server, everyone has a computer and a network. It's kind of the same thing with Bitcoin. Okay, so we'll get into how a transaction works with a transaction with private keys. Okay, so you have your Bitcoin wallet on your phone, and you have your private key, which is a secret piece of data that proves you're going to spend Bitcoins from a specific wallet. The private key is like a signature with a credit card, like I said, and then that provides mathematical proof that the Bitcoins have come from the owner of the wallet. So your private key, like I said, it's like the signature. So you have the wallet, and when you go to scan it, the private key is what allows it to go through, kind of, I guess is what you could say. But only you have your private key, just kind of like only you have your signature and your security code. So that way people can't steal your funds or do a false transaction. And they can't, and we'll get into confirmation next in the mining. Now, kind of like this, over 95% of these dollar bills are moved digitally worldwide, not physically, so I need a better digital currency. Also, one thing to point out, I think right now 1 Bitcoin is like worth around $600 US. And that's changed quite a bit. I know back in like 2014 was a huge year for Bitcoin. It fluctuated from all the way down like $20 to up to like $1,000 that year. So there's lots of investing that people are doing just in US dollar terms. But some people are trying to use it as their go-to currency. Processing mining, it's how you, I guess you say, confirm a transaction. So when you do a transaction, all the information is packed into a block, kind of like a packet when like on the internet sends information. And so then you have what's called all these people, you know, you can set up your own computer too, that's called miners. And it's a competitive market, and pretty much all of these miners is they set up these computers that do all these mathematical calculations, such as your transactions. So
it's hard to understand because mining Bitcoin is a lot like speculation in the stock market. You are sometimes gambling or assessing how much something will make versus what it actually does. So your Bitcoin can fluctuate in value. That's what I think.
And I think it's like 25 new Bitcoins are revealed every 10 minutes.
Right.
Because these computers are solving, I mean, they have these computers that are just like as big as Lindbergh. They have a facility of just computers just solving these mathematical equations to come up with new Bitcoin.
8. The numbers. The Bitcoin supply is finite. Production of Bitcoins is romantically called mining, with millions of dollars worth mined or exchanged electronically each day. Every Bitcoin transaction is verified using an extremely complex algorithm, and these verifications are done by a large network of mining computers.
Hang on, sit tight, you don't need to move.
When a miner successfully verifies a transaction, he or she is rewarded with a small amount of Bitcoins. This is also how new Bitcoins are introduced into the system. And mining is a lot of work. Globally, the network of mining computers is now over 250 times more powerful than the world's top 500 supercomputers combined.
No wonder Seth liked this. This is almost as good as the show he watches.
It's hard. It's kind of like I compared learning about Bitcoin to like when they show. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos like where they have like planet Earth and they show you that comparison to the sun, and they show the sun comparison to the next to the big star. And
Yes.
they show that big star compared to the next biggest star, and you're like.
And then the Minecraft world.
And where Bitcoin comes from, when they call it mining, is when people have transactions, financial transactions, and it's down to decimals. There's always something left over. Bitcoin, part of it is finding that leftover transaction and assimilating it into something else. That's what mining is. So if your interest rate is 3.24, well, where's the 3.25? Well, that becomes eventually Bitcoin or aspects of Bitcoin. So all kinds of strange smarter mathematical stuff than I have. Okay, nerds, I will see y'all tomorrow. If you did your presentation, put your keynote in your drive folder for me, okay? Put your keynote in your drive folder.
Minnie, are you done?